happy 35th anniversary to Home Alone. And to celebrate its 35th anniversary, you know what I'm about to do. I'm about to do a commentary on the film. Anyway, Home Alone is available to stream on these platforms that I'm about to mention. Of course, if you're old-fashioned, you can always watch Home Alone on DVD or a video cassette if you're really old-fashioned. But yeah, this is how we do it, because I will be doing this and another Christmas special for the holiday season. It feels great to actually be doing something Christmas related during the holiday season. You can't go wrong with that. Also, I've made a new plan. Around New Year's Eve, my last Commentary Companions video will be a podcast episode about the essential Rob Reiner movies to honor the memory of the late actor and director. But anyway, sit back, relax, get some Little Nero's pizza, and enjoy the commentary to Home Alone, ya filthy animals. Welcome to Commentary Companions. I'm your host, Tony Garcia, and as part of my Christmas commentary specials, I'm doing Home Alone, the very first film released in 1990. And what an honor it is to be doing this on the 35th anniversary of the film's theatrical release. Home Alone, 35 years old. That is a sentence I never thought I would say. It really does. It's enough to make me want to scream like Kevin does. Sorry, I couldn't resist. But, I have a confession to make. I didn't really watch the first Home Alone film until I was, 11 or 12. But, I'd heard about it. And so far, the first Home Alone and Home Alone 2 are the only films I've watched. Of course, I'm probably not going to watch the other sequels. I mean, why bother? But this does make me question whether Home Alone 6, Home Sweet Home Alone, is standalone enough to not require watching the other sequels. But, well, I guess I'm not even sure if Home Sweet Home Alone even acknowledges the events to the other Home Alone films. It's very standalone. Also, I recognize the McAllister house since it was used in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. And, man, this house is chaotic and fast-paced. But I'm not gonna lie. Spoilers, I actually thought this was an actual policeman. Pretty memorable, if you know what I mean. And, it's actually crazy to know that's Catherine O'Hara, who also voices Sally Ragdoll in The Nightmare Before Christmas. I never would have recognized her. And there's Macaulay Culkin as the young Kevin McAllister. Everyone on set was amazed with how mature and professional Macaulay Culkin was. Joe Pesci told Entertainment Weekly, "Mackie's not like a 9-year-old. He's an old man already." Pretty impressive, Yep, fun fact, Macaulay Culkin also had a stunt double, who was a very short 30-year-old man. I think around Mac's age. Mac's height, sorry. Ooh. Also, what I find interesting is that, originally, John Hughes, the film's writer and producer, conceived Home Alone while on vacation, with Warner Brothers being originally intended to finance and distribute the film. Shockingly, Warner Brothers shut down the production after it exceeded its assigned budget, but it quickly resumed under 20th Century Fox following meetings with Hughes. Eventually, Chris Columbus and Macaulay Culkin were hired soon afterwards. And, when I hear the name Chris Columbus, the filmmaker, I usually associate him with his directorial efforts. I didn't know that at the time he was also known for being a screenwriter. In fact, hold on a moment. I do know this much. Chris Columbus made his directorial debut in Adventures in Babysitting. Yeah, because he can hear you. Oh, crap, in a PG film. Oh, les incompetents. Yeah, that's a dick move. Now, Chris Columbus's first writing effort was Reckless, but he gained recognition for writing movies like Gremlins, The Goonies, and Young Sherlock Holmes. Hi, Living Alone. I'm Tony, the happy nerd. Yeah, it would be a bad idea to have nude beaches during the winter in France. It would be pretty cold. Now, Old Man Marley is played by Roberts Blossom. And Blossom considered this movie one of the high points in his career after its release. Blossom said kids would often recognize him from playing Old Man Marley and ask, "Aren't you the guy?" Yeah, I can see why. Which is ridiculous. Oh, man. Oh, Buzz. Of course, Old Man Marley don't give a crap. He's more worried about more mature things. Yes. The pizza guy is here. Not the pizza guy as I record this, but Little Nero's Pizza. I'm not gonna lie. When, oop, there goes that statue. 20 minutes or you don't pay. But yeah, Little Nero's Pizza. I actually thought that it was an actual place and maybe the predecessor to Little Caesars. I mean, Roman emperor slash dictator referencing pizza, so can't blame me for thinking Little Nero's was related to Little Caesars, but no. Little Nero's is a parody of Little Caesars. 122.50 is would with market inflation would be over $400 by today's standards. Typical of the uncle to be a freaking cheapskate. Now, director Chris Columbus's biggest fear as a kid was burglars. It's part of why he wanted to make this movie. According to Chris Columbus, during an interview with Alec Baldwin on Baldwin's podcast, Here's the Thing, John Hurt was unhappy about working on this movie, feeling that the movie was going to be terrible. However, upon seeing the finished product and its subsequent success, Hurt apologized to Columbus when they were shooting his scenes for Home Alone 2, having broken character before his first take to tell Columbus. Columbus says he still had footage of Hurt's apology on videotape. Although the part was written especially for Macaulay Culkin by John Hughes, several hundred other boys were auditioned by Chris Columbus. According to the DVD commentary, Columbus was hesitant to cast Culkin because Hughes had so recently cast him in Uncle Buck and didn't want to appear as a pushover in the film community. It was only after auditioning all the other young actors that he realized Culkin was, in fact, the best choice for the part. Now, this also indicates... Oh, man. Man, you are such a dick, Buck. I mean, yeah, they're kids, but... Oh. Uh-oh. Anyway, yeah, so... Uncle Buck was actually the first official collaboration between Hughes and Culkin. Also, Macaulay Culkin's, younger brother, Kieran, plays the youngest cousin, Fuller. I believe that's the name. And I never imagined, after watching this, that years later, Kieran Culkin would win an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. And now he's going to be playing the young Caesar Flickerman in the Hunger Games prequel. That is crazy. Well, he did say goodnight, Kevin. How far is Chicago from Ohio? Yeah, that's a golden tooth if I'd ever done see one. Yeah, wrong thing to say. Now, Joe Pesci deliberately avoided Macaulay Culkin on set because he wanted Culkin to think he was mean. Now, there were many times on set where Catherine O'Hara had to assure Macaulay that whenever she said any of those lines, she usually told him, "Look, I just want you to know I didn't mean any of what I said." Because, unfortunately, there are dysfunctional families like the McAllister family. Also, to this day, Macaulay Culkin still calls Catherine O'Hara Mom, which I think is really sweet. I do agree. I mean, Macaulay really does give a very mature performance for someone around nearly 10 years old in this. Also, one of the best... hold on, let me find the fact. Scrolling. But, oh yeah, Macaulay Culkin was only allowed to work on set 5 hours a day because of child labor laws. The crew planned out the scenes around his schedule, putting him on camera alone a lot. And when Macaulay got tired on set, he would just lie down on the ground and sleep between takes. Now, John Williams stepped in when the original composer backed out. Chris Columbus jokingly suggested Williams even though they never thought they could get him, but after he saw an early cut of the movie, he was enchanted and happily stepped in. Oof. Bad timing. Was Home Alone the first time John Williams... Hold on. Frickin' speak type pretty much spelled everything I said wrong. That is so annoying. Collaborated with Chris Columbus. Ah, yes. Well, Home Alone was the first time John Williams collaborated with Chris Columbus. They would collaborate 4 more times, most notably with the first 2 Harry Potter films. Sounds about right. Also, fun fact, Home Alone is a traditional Christmas movie in Poland. It has aired on national television during primetime Christmas season every year since 1990. In 2010, the movie was scheduled not to air in Poland, but was broadcast after over 90,000 people protested. In 2011, the movie aired on December 23rd with an audience of over 5 million, making it the most popular show aired during the Christmas season in Poland. Now, the reason that it's so popular in Poland is, well, films Home Alone and Die Hard were very popular at Christmas time in Poland because they were some of the first Western movies to be released in Poland since the end of communist rule. However, the Polish premiere of Home Alone took place not during the Christmas season, but on May 22nd, 1992. 3 years later, on Christmas Day, 1995, the Polish television premiere of the film took place. So yeah, pretty big deal in Poland. I never even realized. I have a Polish friend who I work with named Lila, who, well, I think I ought to ask her how often she watches Home Alone. Also, I didn't know Peter's oldest daughter was in that Vanilla Ice movie, whose name escapes me. Yeah. Also, it's quite interesting how, that coincidentally, they accidentally threw away Kevin's ticket. That is an interesting detail, but it definitely helps. Now, Chris Columbus was previously hired by John Hughes to direct National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. After meeting with Chevy Chase, however, it became clear to Columbus that the two of them would not get along, so he asked Hughes if there were any other projects he could work on instead. Home Alone was one of the options presented to him. This makes me wonder, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Famous last words. Trust me, I definitely, I hope I didn't forget anything. It's definitely something I can relate to whenever I have to, whenever I need to pack up and go on vacations. Like, I hope to God that I didn't forget something. Like, one time I went to, when I was going to Emerald City Comic Con in Seattle, I hoped that, that I wouldn't, that I hadn't forgotten anything, but it turns out I forgot my face masks. Can you believe that? And I intended to bring a Captain America themed face mask. Well, joke was on me. Now, the exterior of the McAllister residence was filmed in front of a house in the outskirts of Chicago. Because it was too small for filming inside and Chicago didn't have large movie studios, the interior was completely built inside an abandoned high school. The crew also set up their offices in there. Now, the major success of this movie and Home Alone 2 allowed Chris Columbus to move on to other more successful projects like Mrs. Doubtfire and the first two Harry Potter movies. Now, of course, Columbus's previous movie had not done well at the box office, and he was worried that he would never direct again, that movie being Heartbreak Hotel. But then John Hughes sent him the script for this movie. Columbus said it was one of the best he had ever read. Also, yeah, Home Alone was Kieran Culkin's feature film debut. To get Macaulay Culkin to memorize his lines, Chris Columbus bribed him by promising he'd let him play his Nintendo. The strategy worked. After securing Macaulay Culkin, Joe Pesci, and Daniel Stern, Chris Columbus felt confident enough to cast actors and actresses who were his heroes growing up, like Catherine O'Hara, after seeing her work on SCTV, as well as John Hurd, and then later Tim Curry and Rob Schneider in Home Alone 2, because they were all open to the movies. And for those who don't know what SCTV is, SCTV is basically the Canadian equivalent to Saturday Night Live. That's where Catherine O'Hara and John Candy all got their start, along with Harold Ramis. Now, the wax and plastic snow was used in this movie was given to the Lyric Opera of Chicago when shooting finished. It has since been used in numerous opera productions. Because, yeah. When did they start filming the first Home Alone movie? Yep, filming took place between February and May of 1990 on location across Illinois, so very early, during a real Chicago winter, with scenes shot in the freezing temperatures of the northern suburbs like Winnetka, Illinois, before its release later that same year in November 1990. That's impressive. The role of Uncle Frank was written with Kelsey Grammer in mind. Okay, he didn't actually say that. Okay, something tells me the actors re-saying those lines sounded like they wanted to have fun doing it over the top. Now, in May of 2011, the house in Winnetka, Illinois, used in this movie was listed for sale at $2.4 million. It sold in March of 2012 for $1.585 million. The house is promoted as a tourist attraction and cited as an example of how to get your home in the movies. But I swear that home was used in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and you cannot change my mind. Well, he's a kid, so of course he wouldn't find that alluring. Oh wow, Junior Mints. Also, fun fact, Buzz's girlfriend is actually played by a boy because Columbus and Hughes didn't want any girl to be seen as ugly, so it kind of makes sense that they would have a boy in drag, which makes it even funnier. What's funny is that Oh, here comes one of my favorite scenes. Angels with Filthy Souls. I actually thought this was an actual movie, but nope, it's a movie within a movie. Now, Ralph Foodie and Michael Guido were originally cast in the opposite roles of Snakes and Johnny, respectively, for Angels with Filthy Souls, but Foodie was recovering from knee surgery at the time of the shoot and was unable to perform the fall to the floor, so the roles were swapped. Guido often joked that this swap meant he was one of the few actors who was unable to return for the sequel due to his character being dead. Also, Ralph Foodie, who plays Johnny, he was in The Blues Brothers, playing one of the police sergeants. I think the main one. Yeah, but Ralph Foodie really does sell the role as this old gangster. And he really does have a great voice that sounds like a vintage gangster movie. Yeah, I actually thought this was so over the top, but almost kind of funny. And while Home Alone 2 is a gratuitous sequel, Ralph Foodie returning for Angels with Filthier Souls is definitely one of the few highlights of the film. Nobody's angel. Now, when Kate is on the phone at the beginning of the movie, she can be heard saying that the family put their dog in the kennel for their vacation, explaining why their house has a doggy door, though the dog is never shown and isn't mentioned in the sequel. Yep, cinematographer Julio Julio Macat used A Christmas Story as inspiration for the look of this movie. It was also one of the last major productions to use carbon arc lighting, which Macat felt gave a warmer and richer light. These lights fell out of use due to the fact that they could only operate for around 20 minutes at a time and required an exhaust system when used indoors. And Home Alone was such an unexpected massive financial success throughout the world that its distributors, Fox, postponed the release of their other Christmas release, Edward Scissorhands, as they were worried it could suffer financially due to the huge success of Home Alone and the competing Disney film Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Although the latter has already been released to U.S. movie theaters, the release to the rest of the world was changed. Edward Scissorhands was given a staggered release in other territories starting in March of 1991 all the way through to July of 1991. Now, I actually know who Joe Pesci is, but not because of Home Alone. And not because of all his collaborations with Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese, but I do have a lot of respect for them. See, I'm actually familiar with Joe Pesci because of his performance in the courtroom comedy My Cousin Vinny, which is one of my favorite comedies. It's definitely one of the best, and I actually thought he was the child actor that played Eddie Munster in The Munsters. Nope, I was wrong, but I didn't know that at the time that Joe Pesci was better known for his dramas and starring in films like Raging Bull and Goodfellas. However, Robert De Niro turned down the role of Harry. But, I think Joe Pesci is perfectly cast as Harry. Also, I did not know that Daniel Stern was the father in Frankenweenie, directed by Tim Burton, the original Frankenweenie short. It's like, I swear, It's like Marv and Ben Frankenstein feel like two completely different characters because of Daniel Stern's range. Yeah, you can't go wrong with the original Grinch. Splotched with moldy purple spots, Mr. Grinch. Your soul is appalling to a sandwich with arsenic sauce. Now, Chris Columbus cast Joe Pesci because he was one of his heroes, although he didn't think he'd get him for such a broadly comedic role. But, you know, the one thing I like about Joe Pesci is that he's really great at doing both dramas and comedies. But he really shines when he gets to do R-rated comedies, and he doesn't have to hold back on the foul language. But yeah, that's what I really like about Joe Pesci. I just hope that I'm not botching the name. When the filmmakers had initially cast Daniel Stern for the role of Marv, Stern agreed to shoot for 6 weeks. When producers later said they needed him for 8 weeks but the studio was not willing to pay him more, Stern declined the offer. At the recommendation of the studio, Daniel Roebuck was then cast from a tape as Marv, as he was willing to work for a lower price than Stern. According to Roebuck, after 2 days meeting with producers who were cold towards him, Roebuck was then told he was no longer needed, citing a lack of chemistry with Joe Pesci in their screen tests. The studio finally caved to the producers' wishes and brought back Stern, since he and Pesci had been friends since they had both appeared in I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can, and had a great chemistry. Roebuck earned a hefty paycheck for his troubles, but could only receive it if he agreed not to be hired for any other acting jobs until this movie had been completed. Though he was able to put a down payment on a house with the money he received for not working on this project, Roebuck took the rejection as a huge blow to his ego, remaining bitter for a long time about his experiences with this movie. Roll credits. Still talking to the French guy. You're darn rootin' tootin', Mac. I mean, Kevin. Oh yeah, I recognize the instrumental piece. Also, Old Man Marley was not originally intended to be in the film. But, he was, an additional character. Did Kevin just break the fourth wall? Nah, that's unlikely. Also, the police station is also the office of an abandoned high school. Quite amazing. And if you're having a bad day, just think of Elmer Fudd saying Crisis Center. I know how that feels. According to director Chris Columbus, Kevin Nordine did all of the effects for this movie in his parents' basement in Chicago by drawing all the effects onto the film. He also did the effects for only a few $100s at a time. Because of child labor laws, Macaulay Culkin couldn't work past 10 p.m., so they filmed his scenes for the pizza delivery scene inside the house in the morning, and the pizza guy's scenes were filmed outside at night. And for the toboggan stunt, they built a ski ramp on the stairs and did a test with nobody on it, and the toboggan flew over 30 feet. So they installed a brake system on it to make the stunt safer for the stuntman. But when they did more takes, it was going too slow. So before shooting another take, the stunt coordinator turned off the brake switch right as the director yelled, "Action!" That was the take used in the final product. Also, yeah, well, not only were the actors impressed, but Chris Columbus and crew members were impressed by Macaulay Culkin's professionalism. Director of photography Julio Macat said in a retrospective that Culkin was better behaved than on set than some of the adult actors. Oof. Sorry about the background noise. Like I said, living in a house with several roommates. According to a Wall Street Journal article, the owners of the McAllister house said they were first approached by a location scout who worked with John Hughes. First, they were asked if Uncle Buck could shoot at a house they owned, before they owned the one featured in this movie. At the time, they were trying to sell it and declined the offer because they didn't want to take it off of the market for several months during the shoot. After they moved into their house, the couple was approached about a second movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, which they decided to turn down, this time because they were renovating. Oh no! That's gotta hurt. Oh, I think those are Mad Magazine playing cards. On the set, Macaulay Culkin would jokingly direct the movie for Chris Columbus. Oh no, the spider! According to William Goldman, this movie's success prompted the creation of a Hollywood phrase, to be home alone, meaning to have a competing movie's box office revenue reduced by the impact of this movie. During production, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern felt indifferent about the movie's potential, and neither of them believed that it would be a massive success. Their over-the-top performance in the movie was intentional. Also, originally Danny DeVito was considered for the role of Harry. I don't think I could imagine them. Economists from the Federal Reserve estimated that Peter and Kate McAllister would have to earn $305,000 annually, about $717,000 in 2023, to afford their house. Today, that number places them among the top 1% of Chicago earners. Also, Christopher Lloyd reportedly turned down the role of Marv, and Alan Rickman was considered for the role of Harry Lime. Rickman worked with Macaulay Culkin's aunt in Die Hard. When director Chris Columbus was staying at his wife's parents' house in Chicago after the birth of their first child, he was sent 2 scripts by John Hughes, and one of them was for Home Alone, of course, which he fell in love with and struck a chord with, and he felt he could make a really strong movie out of it. He and Hughes hit it off instantly, so Hughes gave him the job to direct. He could just ditch the toothbrush. I'm just saying. Many people think that the film is unrealistic in its portrayal of how the police would have acted if a Home Alone incident did occur. The writers and directors had actually consulted with a local police officer, Jeff Jefferson, and co-wrote all police scenes with him. The writers and directors were confident with their plan and confused with the audience reaction. 5 years later, Jeff Jefferson was himself arrested for child neglect, having left his own children alone for the previous 6 years. Oh, wow, that was uncomfortable to read. Then again, that's part of the job of writing, looking at these facts. While appearing on a 2018 episode of The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, Macaulay Culkin admitted that one huge plot hole had always bothered him about this movie. Why didn't Kevin just call the cops when the burglars tried to break in? Michael Richards was also considered for the role of Marv, but, Marv was written with Daniel Stern in mind. And Rowan Atkinson and Bob Hoskins were, considered for the role of Harry. Rowan auditioned and Bob Hoskins to turn down the role. Al Pacino was also offered to play Harry or Peter McAllister, but turned down both of the roles because of schedule conflicts. Yep, Kirstie Kelly was also considered for the role of Kate McAllister based on her performance in Look Who's Talking, but Allie turned it down because she was working on Look Who's Talking 2. And it was at that moment Kevin recognized Harry. Macaulay Culkin says he considered buying the house and turning it into a fun house. He said, "I had half a mind to buy it just for giggles." Culkin told a crowd at Illinois' Rosemont Theater during a screening of the movie, reported the New York Times. He went on to say he wanted to turn his old fictional home into a movie funhouse where people could sled down the stairs just like Kevin does in the movie. So why didn't he? "I got kids," Culkin said simply, referencing the 2 sons he shares with actress Brenda Song. "I'm busy, man." Also, I feel like doing this is perfect timing, what with Macaulay and his girlfriend Brenda voicing the Linksley siblings in Zootopia 2. So yeah, perfect timing. I never imagined he would actually be collaborating with Andy Samberg, you know, and Jason Bateman for this. The OK Plumbing van that Harry and Marv drive has a slogan that says, "You're flood control experts." This is funny because Marv wants them to call themselves the Wet Bandits and leaves the water running after robbing houses. Jeremy Irons was also offered to either play either Harry or Marv, but turned down both roles due to schedule conflicts. I think that's the story of every actor, you know? It's like, I had to drop out due to scheduling conflicts. Womp womp. Chris Columbus revealed in a 2024 interview with The Hollywood Reporter that he and John Hughes had conversations about what the parents did for a living and said that Kate was a very successful fashion designer and that Peter could have, based on John Hughes' own experience, worked in advertising, but I don't remember what the father did. Also, John Lovitz turned down the role of Harry. Matter of fact, just gotta scroll up. During the staged Christmas party scene, Kevin is wearing an orange speaker-like device around his neck. This is a 1970s novelty item known as a laugh box, and is the source of the laughter that's audible throughout the scene. The laughter is difficult to hear over the music, but is especially noticeable when the camera focuses on the mannequin spinning on the record player. That's an interesting detail, and I really do like this little manipulation in which Kevin is trying to fool the burglars into thinking, oh yeah, everyone's home. So trying to rob is totally moot. Yeah. Also, yeah, my favorite detail is the Michael Jordan billboard pretty much looping around. Still, it is a funny detail. I do believe that Michael Jordan was 27 when Home Alone was released. And that is an Italian... No, that's a French dubbing of It's a Wonderful Life. I love the running gag of the McAllister family always watching It's a Wonderful Life, no matter what. Hold on, trying to get my phone to be charged. Don't fall down, All right, great. Come on, upside down. Oof, that is terrible French. Then again, what do I know? My French is probably even more mediocre. Three buzz. Again. Back door, please. Now that's convenient audio manipulation. Yeah, so I think it's kind of funny that Kevin is bold enough to assume the pizza delivery guy has never watched the film. keep the change, you filthy animal. Now, interesting detail, the airport attendant who took the family's plane tickets never questioned why there was a person missing from the group. This is because, well, Peter had unknowingly thrown away Kevin's ticket while wiping up the milk on the counter the night before, so the attendant counted as many people as she'd been given tickets for. Also, Home Alone is the favorite film of former President Gerald Ford. Shoebox. An Eastern Airlines Boeing 727 is visible in the scene where Kate and Peter McAllister try to get information on return flights to the U.S. from a French AA ticket agent. While the scene supposedly takes place at Paris Orly International Airport, it was actually shot at another terminal of O'Hare International Airport. Eastern Airlines has never done any European flights or any international flights, and it also never had any inter-European trips like what Trans World Airlines or Pan American World Airways did in the 1980s. So I'm part of a community choir, and we're actually going to be doing medley of 3 Home Alone songs, including Somewhere in My Memory and Star of Bethlehem. Also, this is the funniest way to use that one cover of White Christmas. Children, listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. Yeah, that aftershave is not a good feeling. When Kevin first wakes up and notices his family has left him, he turns on the television in the kitchen to see the 1947 version of Miracle on 34th Street. You see Maureen O'Hara in one of her first scenes from that movie. The year after this movie, Chris Columbus directed O'Hara in her first on-screen appearance in 20 years in Only the Lonely, which also features a lot of the Home Alone crew. But anyway, Only the Lonely was also produced by John Hughes and starred John Candy and featured Macaulay Culkin in a cameo role. Also, Michael Jordan was Macaulay Culkin's favorite basketball player. Naturally. Yeah, so Peter tries speaking in French to the operator in Paris, saying, parlez anglais, speak English. Then says, est-ce que une personne qui parle anglais là? And is there a person who speaks English? Before giving up and saying in English, I'm looking for my son. Do you know where he is? Also, Keanu Reeves and River Phoenix were considered for the role of Buzz. They had appeared together in I Love You to Death and My Own Private Idaho. I mean, well, I believe that River Phoenix would have been around, I think, 19 if he had auditioned. Let me see how old he was. Yeah, he probably would have been. Yeah, he would have been 19 going on 20 when filming for Home Alone if he had been offered the part, and Keanu would have been 25 going around 26. Keanu would have been too old, and Keanu would have been too old, and River probably would have been a very, very older, around 19. Definitely would have been off-putting. I just can't imagine Keanu Reeves or Keanu Reeves as Buzz McAllister. Great time for the... Sorry, phone's acting up. This is a sweet fact. Daniel Stern says that he and Joe Pesci still find time for one another over 2 decades after the popular holiday film was released. I see him once a year, Stern says of Pesci. According to Stern, he and Pesci first met years before Home Alone during the filming of a 1982 drama film. We did a really bad movie together called I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can, where we played mental institution patients, he says. And though he and Pesci got cut out of the movie, which he describes as a blessing, Stern says he has supported the Goodfellas star ever since, including when it comes to his passion project, music. One thing I love to tell people about Mr. Pesci is if you really want to know who he is, listen to his music. He is the most brilliant jazz singer, Stern tells people. He's got this beautiful tenor voice. I mean, he makes me weep when he sings these kinds of Sinatra songs. Well, that's nice. It's a good thing this film was made in 1990, because could you imagine if this was made in 2025 and it suddenly, as Kevin plays the clip, suddenly the ads start playing? It would have been game over for him. Oh no. Yeah, snakes. Yeah. You're messing with the wrong guy. Sorry, I'm thinking of a scene from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. $60 hours. That's 24, 48. That is nearly 3 days. Of course, she could have waited it out. And there he is, the man, the myth, the legend, John Candy himself. I mean, who doesn't love John Candy? I love John Candy. I should probably watch Uncle Buck, but I'm totally familiar with John Candy. I mean, the first role I remember him best in is as Del Griffith on Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's the one role I know him best for. And, of course, others might know him best for his role as the officer in the Blues Brothers, but yeah. Of course, John Candy has been a frequent collaborator of John Hughes, starting with National Lampoon's Vacation. Now, Chris Columbus revealed in a November 2020 interview that John Candy, who was a huge star at that point, did his airport cameo as a favor to the movie's producer and screenwriter, John Hughes, and he improvised almost all of his lines. Although he agreed to be paid to scale, he wasn't happy with the fact that they only paid him $414 for his efforts. Even the guy who played the pizza delivery boy earned more. Now, although John Hughes was fiercely defensive of his screenplay and insisted that everyone deliver his lines as written, he allowed John Candy to improvise. This is actually a trademark of Hughes, who also had the 5 students in the Breakfast Club improvise when they told one another why they were in detention. In the film, almost all of Candy's dialogue is improvised. But yeah, this is the second John Hughes production in which John Candy and Macaulay Culkin are in a film together. But whereas Candy and Culkin shared scenes together in Uncle Buck, they share no scenes in Home Alone. Now, isn't that ironic? But the one thing I also like about John Candy is that, John looked out for Macaulay, making sure that he was okay during set of Uncle Buck. God bless John Candy's heart. I mean, I sure do miss John Candy. I never met the guy, but he's someone I certainly wish I could have met, because he was clearly a warm-hearted guy who clearly cared about everyone, and had such camaraderie around folk like Steve Martin. And one of course, the last collaboration that John Hughes and John Candy ever did was this obscure film called Career Opportunities, which starred a young Jennifer Connelly, which unfortunately didn't do well at the box office and didn't do well critically, to the point where John Hughes straight up disowned the film. But, yeah, it's pretty sad when a great actor's last film is something that is usually a bad film that everyone forgets. It's not a high note. It's sad when they can't go out on a high note. Roll credits. Ding! One of the few times Marv was right. Yep, just riding with the polka players. I guess they all got to find ways to entertain themselves when on the road. Now, Home Alone was the highest-grossing movie of 1990 domestically. Ghost was the year's highest-grossing movie worldwide. Now, Joe Pesci's character, Harry Lime, was named after Orson Welles' character from The Third Man. Yeah. Also, Chris Farley was considered for the role of Santa Claus. Also, yeah, it's kind of funny. It's like give Santa Claus a ticket. Oh, you're definitely asking to give. You're definitely asking to be put on the naughty list if you give Santa Claus a parking ticket. Like I remember one time when I was in high school, they were talking about this one lady who was pretending to be Mrs. Claus, and she got fired over something. And I jokingly said, "Well, someone's gonna be put on her husband's naughty list for that." I just couldn't resist making a joke like that. Well, it's the thought that counts. Oh, good. Recorder's still on. I can't tell because the sun is reflecting. Of course, maybe I could shut the curtain. That way, the light doesn't obscure everything. It's glaring at everything. I kid you not. That's better. Now it's less glaring. Man, this song did not have to go that hard in the heart department, but props to the writer, to the lyricist, and John Williams. I thought my phone was going to fall down. And now we have another heartfelt scene. You know, if you want to listen to a nice version of "Oh Holy Night," I would totally recommend you listen to Kevin Conroy's cover of "Oh Holy Night." It is a beautiful cover. Because it was always nice to hear Kevin Conroy sing. Here's something funny. The Nero's Pizza chain featured in the movie has a slogan, "No fiddling around." This is a reference to the Roman Emperor Nero, who reportedly played his fiddle as Rome burned in 64 AD. This is impossible, however, as the violin was not invented until the 15th century. Old Man Marley, who's played by Robert Blossom, is rumored to be a serial killer, which is, I think it's funny because he's the perfect red herring. Blossom's most notable role prior to this movie was the lead role in Deranged, as a fictionalized version of serial killer Ed Gein. Ed Gein pretty much inspired the characters Norman Bates and Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So yeah, I know who Ed Gein is. Yep, and there's Star of Bethlehem. Now, Bruce Broughton was attached as the original composer, having previously worked with Chris Columbus on Young Sherlock Holmes. The first printing of the posters had his name on them. However, Broughton turned down the offer to compose Home Alone to work on Rescues Down Under instead. The house was only used for exterior shots. Interior shots were filmed on a studio set, as there were no sound stages around Chicago to shoot in. The filmmakers instead rented the high school gymnasium. Fortunately, the ceiling already had scaffolding for the lighting system. The house used in Home Alone is on sale for over $5 million as of May 2024. Also, Macaulay Culkin improvised the after-shaving lotion scream and lip-sync to White Christmas. In early August of 2019, Disney, who owned Fox, announced that this movie would be one of the first batch of existing Fox movies to be remade, intended for the Disney Plus streaming service. Fans of this movie joked that it would only be a short movie, as Kevin only needed to call using a mobile cell phone. It's currently unknown if it will be a sequel or a reboot. Additionally, it's unclear how Disney will approach the comedic violence, especially as many doctors have said that the Wet Bandit's injuries would actually be life-threatening or fatal in reality. In fact, one fan theory suggests that the character of Kevin grew up to become the character of Jigsaw in the violent Saw series of movies. Yeah. Yeah, I just mainly wanted to state the fact of the whole theory of Kevin becoming Saw, but Kevin McAllister is not John Kramer. The creators of Saw have had to confirm it, and so have the people involved with Home Alone. Also, Phil Collins was considered for the role of Harry. Now, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern each appeared in films inspired by the life of mobster Henry Hill in 1990, the same years as the release of this movie. Daniel Stern appeared in My Blue Heaven, which is inspired by Hill's life, and Witness Protection, while Joe Pesci is starred in Goodfellas, a more direct adaptation of Hill's life, which won him his first Oscar. Actually, hold on. How many times did Joe Pesci win an Oscar? Now, I know he's been nominated. In fact, one of his latest nominations was for his performance in The Irishman. But yeah, Goodfellas is his only Oscar win. Now, Chris Columbus did an uncredited rewrite of the screenplay, adding in the character of Old Man Marley. From 1993 to 1996 and again in 1998, NBC aired this movie during the 8 p.m. time slot on Thanksgiving evening as part of their holiday promotion. Jurassic Park aired its place in 1997, and this movie aired on NBC a week before Christmas. This movie aired on NBC until 1999 when it aired the Sunday after Thanksgiving weekend in 1999, when it was the last time it aired on NBC. This movie also aired on Thanksgiving for 24 hours on FX in 2009. Also, Gilbert Gottfried was considered for the role of Harry Lime. A big who's who, you know? To promote the film, Catherine O'Hara hosted the April 13th, 1991 episode of Saturday Night Live. During the in-out segment of the show by David Spade, Spade made a joke about kissing up to the host of the show so he could be in the Home Alone sequel. While Spade did not end up in the sequel, his castmate and friend Rob Schneider did, playing Cedric the bellboy. It's ironic. Also, interestingly, Joe Pesci and John Candy appeared in JFK, directed by Oliver Stone. The director's cut of that film featured John Larroquette, who worked with Macaulay Culkin and Richie Rich. And I actually know who John Larroquette is because of his performance as Dan Fielding in Night Court and as the narrator in many Texas Chainsaw Massacre films. But yeah, I did not know that John Candy appeared in JFK. That's a surprise. I think that's one of his few non-comedic roles. You know, Old Man Marley tells Kevin a statement with a message, which is similar to the kind Jacob would give to Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, since Marley would also be Jacob's last name. And Dean Martin's song, I'll Be Home for Christmas, was supposed to be in the film, but was unfortunately cut. And of course, no surprise, Robin Williams and Jeff Goldblum were considered for the role of Peter McAllister. Of course, while Robin Williams never got the role of Peter McAllister, he did end up collaborating with Chris Columbus 3 times in Mrs. Doubtfire, 9 Months, and Bicentennial Man. Also, Home Alone is the only movie in which Catherine O'Hara and John Candy starred together, since they were such good friends after working on SCTV. Oh man, this is gonna hurt. I think it's so funny how Joe Pesci has to hold back on all the swearing. To be fair, yeah, it's a PG movie, so of course he can't swear. Oof. Right in the head. Along with Home Alone, 20th Century Fox was also filming Marked for Death in Chicago at the same time. And Macaulay is using a real Tommy gun movie prop from the 1930s that Chris Columbus managed to track down for his fake black and white movie. Oh, I'm sorry. We get the point. Not fun. Michael Ironside was also considered for the role of Uncle Frank. Yep, the film was retitled in several countries due to the original title not translating properly. It was known as My Poor Little Angel in Spanish and Mom, I Missed the Plane in French. Well, Mom, I Missed the Plane I Missed the Plane is a very honest title. Now, the makers tried to make the stunts look as painful as possible, as per John Hughes' philosophy that pain is funny. I can kind of understand where John Hughes is coming from. However, when it came to film, the stunts looked so realistic and painful that the crew didn't dare laugh or even look at the camera monitor, afraid that the stuntmen had really hurt themselves, which never happened. The stunt team tried so hard to fall backwards through the air as high as they could that for years afterwards, such stunts were called the Home Alone stunt. And of course, these traps are pretty much define the identity of the Home Alone franchise, for better or for worse. Now, of course, they're outlandish in the first film, but man, they're funny, but man, they're so outlandish by the sequel. I think one of my favorite jokes about the dangerous stunts is that in the pitch meeting guy, Ryan George, makes a joke that he reveals that Harry and Marv are actually immortal, which explains why they can't die from all of those dangerous stunts. Oh man, this is so painful to look at with it being glowing red. But also, it's a reference to... Ooh, that's a brand. The M brand is a reference to a 1931 movie known as M. And that's tar that's making Harry's shoes and socks stick. Yep, and I think this awakens something in some people. Oh no, oh man. Yeah, I feel Harry's pain, because no matter what gender you are, the idea of accidentally stepping on a nail with your bare feet is a painful concept. Yeah, gotta test the doorknob. Interestingly, the blowtorch is the only thing we don't see Kevin set up. But that is a good fire stunt. I believe Daniel Stern was wearing rubber feet for some of those stunts. Yep, that's tender. The station wagon seen in the garage of the McAllister residence after everybody except Kevin leaves for the airport is a Buick model, which is Buick's version of an Oldsmobile station wagon of the same body style era, which would be featured on the Nick TV series The Adventures of Pete and Pete. Because the name Peter, the name of Kevin's father, is sometimes shortened to Pete, since Pete would also be the name of the character played by Mike Morona in the Nickelodeon series, whose father took him on rides in the Oldswagon. A character named Jeff, who was also played by Morona in Home Alone, would be the son of Peter McAllister, as well as Kevin's brother. To summarize, a guy named Peter would be the father of a character whose actor played a Pete in the TV series with a similar model of car. Why the hell is this a fact on IMDb? Also, those ornaments were made from sugar, so Daniel Stern was totally safe when his bare feet touched those ornaments. They're totally fake, and he's just Daniel's just pretending to be in pain. He does make it convincing, to his credit. Bark, bark. John Hughes originally wanted Patrick Reed Johnson to direct, but he was too busy making Space Invaders. That should have killed Marv. Dennis Hopper was under brief consideration for the role of Harry Lime, but director Chris Columbus decided to pass him over because his role as a villain in Blue Velvet was one Columbus deemed to be too surreal and frightening for a kids' movie. Despite being known to be very profane, Columbus decided instead on Joe Pesci because he had some experience in comedy with Easy Money and Lethal Weapon 2. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, Dennis Hopper couldn't be in Home Alone, and he ended up being in Super Mario Brothers, which kind of killed his career. Jeffrey Jones was under consideration to play Peter McAllister due to his chemistry previously with Catherine O'Hara, who plays Kate as they played a married couple in Beetlejuice 2 years prior. However, Columbus humbly rejected the idea and wanted John Hurd to play him instead. Possibly a smart decision. Trigger warning for anyone who suffers from arachnophobia. This scene's about to be intense because, in real life, Daniel Stern is afraid of spiders as well. The scene where Marv has the spider on his face was only done in one take, as that was all the director could convince Daniel Stern to do. The spider trainer warned that if he screamed with the spider on his face, it could startle the spider and possibly cause it to attack him. So Daniel Stern had to do a completely silent scream with the spider on his face, and they had to edit in the scream audio later. I mean, it's still funny. Oh, you could see the look on Harry's face as he, Et tu, Brute? Ironically, Tim Curry was also considered to play Harry Lime. Of course, Tim Curry would end up being the cast as the hotel concierge in Home Alone 2. Yeah, Joe Pesci was used to adding profanity to most of his scripts and kept forgetting that he was filming a family movie during his character's on-screen outbursts. So director Chris Columbus advised him to say fridge instead of fuck. A lot of Pesci's unintelligible pained mutterings were his way to avoid cursing. The boy that was used in the photo to be Buzz's girlfriend was art director Dan Webster's son. Also, the line, "You guys give up or are you thirsty for more?" was improvised. The movie originally had more scenes of the McAllister family in Paris, but test audiences wanted to get back to Kevin, which is fair. Oh, of course, there's an error fetching more data, right as I'm looking up these facts. Well, clearly it's a bad day for IMDb. Oh no. This is like something out of a Looney Tunes cartoon. I think they had a nasty concussion. The pages on the Playboy magazine that Kevin looks through were taped together, so Macaulay wouldn't see any nudity. The cover was from the July 1989 issue. Many of the shots that focus on Kevin in the beginning of the movie are filmed from above his head, making him seem small and helpless. At the end of the movies, Kevin is mostly shot from below, making him seem taller and more confident. Marv's question for Harry, "Why the hell are you dressed like a chicken?" was improvised by Daniel Stern. In the original script, it is, "Why the hell did you set yourself on fire?" Writer and producer John Hughes was worried that mothers would never believe a family could forget one of their kids. Columbus recalled, "John really filled in every possible logic hole, and the audience always bought it." Also, John Candy's character was inspired by real-life Jan Polka King Lewin, who lived in Pennsylvania and whose polka band really did do tours around the world. In the scene where Kevin walks past the driveway just as Harry and Marv are driving down it and stop just in time to avoid hitting him, was achieved by having Macaulay Culkin walk backward as the van was driven in reverse away from him and had some stagehands shake the van for dramatic effect. The film was then shown backward. Perfect timing, old man Marley. When Kevin is jumping up and down on his parents' bed while munching on some popcorn, there were actually several crew members lying on the floor on both sides at the foot of the bed. They had been instructed to lie there and be ready to catch Macaulay Culkin in case he accidentally jumped off or fell off the bed. During rehearsal for the scene where Harry attempts to bite off Kevin's finger, Joe Pesci actually bit Macaulay Culkin, leaving a small scar. The concept of this movie originated during the filming of a scene in Uncle Buck, in which Macaulay Culkin plays a character who interrogates a would-be sitter through the letter opening in the front door also. Culkin became sick during filming with a cold. He was given a break from filming while he recovered, except for one scene in particular. When Kevin is being chased by the police officer for accidentally shoplifting the toothbrush, Macaulay's voice is very hoarse, his face is pale, and his eyes were red and puffy. I never noticed. And also the scene in which Kevin is buying a toothbrush was the first scene that was shot for the movie. The poster and video box image of Kevin with his hands on his face and screaming was improvised by Culkin. He had forgotten to pull his hands away as he screamed. It became the famous shot of the movie. Also, the last scene filmed was the one in which Kevin is running through the water-filled basement. Because a flooded set always spills water, the set was purposely built inside the local high school swimming pool so that all the water would be immediately drained. This is interesting. Director Chris Columbus would ask Joe Pesci to do his "How am I funny?" speech from Goodfellas on set. In fact, Pesci was to have a similar scene with Daniel Stern, defensively questioning him about having an edge. The scene was deleted. The scene in which Harry's head gets scalded with a blowtorch was achieved via a technique known as Pepper's Ghost, with the help of a pane of glass placed at 45-degree angle and a blowtorch, again at a 45-degree angle, in a darkened area off-screen, blowing the actual flame onto a blackhead sculpture. The flame visible on-screen is actually the reflection of the flame on the pane of glass. If you look carefully, you can occasionally see parts of the edge of the head sculpture due to the position of Joe Pesci's head being just a little off. To promote a stronger Christmas feel, red and green are major recurring colors throughout the movie, appearing quite conspicuously in almost every scene. This includes furniture, clothing, food containers, and all wallpaper. Now, the car that Santa, to whom Kevin talks about wanting his family back, starts before it stalls out is a 1980 Honda Civic hatchback. It really did stall on camera as the actor was driving it away. Despite filming a family movie, Daniel Stern once slipped shit, the word shit, which can be heard when he is retrieving his boot through the doggy door, as well as being shown in the English subtitle. Some scenes were shot in a 3-story single-family house located at 671 Lincoln Avenue in Winnetka, Illinois. As I said, the kitchen in the movie was shot in the house, along with the main staircase, basement, and most of the first-floor landing. The house's dining room and all of the downstairs rooms, excluding the kitchen, were built on a soundstage. The house was built in 1921 and features 5 bedrooms, a fully converted attic, and a detached double garage, and a greenhouse. Kevin's treehouse in the backyard was built specifically for the movie and demolished after principal photography ended. The evil furnace in the basement was done by 2 guys with fishing line and flashlights. And Chris Columbus has the fake burnt head used for the blowtorch scene in his office to this day. And director Chris Columbus's least favorite booby trap is Harry getting doused with feathers because it was too soft compared to the other ones throughout the sequence. And Columbus wanted the booby trap with Marv getting hit in the face with a household object sent down the laundry chute, but he couldn't think of one to use. His brother-in-law suggested a clothes iron, and it was used in the movie. Aww. Actually, the statue in front of the house is hit 4 times. And of course, who can forget that people thought Elvis Presley made a cameo in Home Alone? But I can finally debunk that theory, because in 2018, when investigative journalists identified the extra as a man called Gary Richard Grott, who had passed away from a heart attack in February 2016, Grott's family was able to confirm that it was Grott in the movie, and also revealed that he had been working regularly as an extra on several of Chris Columbus's movies, although Home Alone was the first one that he actually appeared in. Also, Kevin's homemade inventions may reflect Chris Columbus's love of inventions, which cropped up in movies he wrote like Gremlins, The Goonies, and Young Sherlock Holmes, which were all produced by Steven Spielberg. Columbus and Spielberg are big fans of the James Bond films, perhaps because of the inventions in there too. Also, the fake movie Angels with Filthy Souls was the first thing to be filmed when the budget wasn't very big, so everyone liked starting out on something with cardboard sets. Oh yeah, the gold tooth. In the original script, the movie ended in a freeze frame where Peter asks Kevin what he did while the family was away. Kevin witnessing Old Man Marley reconciling with his son was added in because Old Man Marley taking Kevin's advice to reconcile with his son wasn't resolved. That's a good decision, as it really does help give this family comedy some heart. American Airlines, which has product placement in this film, acted as a sponsor and partner for this film's home video release. The same was later done for the sequel. And the movie is considered to be a kid's version of Die Hard. Both films are about the main protagonists who are left alone after family disputes and acting alone to fend off thieves committing a robbery. Huh. I guess I never really did see the similarities, but I guess that does make sense. But, yeah. That was Home Alone, pretty much considered a holiday classic by today's standards, and it's great to talk about this film 35 years later. I mean, I personally like watching it every now and then. I mean, it may not be my most number one favorite Christmas movie of all time, and it may not be my most favorite John Hughes movie or my favorite Chris Columbus movie, but, whenever it's on TV, I won't say no to watching it because it's that timeless and iconic. For a film that takes place in 1990, it does feel timeless and iconic. I mean, a film like Home Alone could never be made today because of modern settings. I mean, legacy sequels could work. But, I think highlights, definitely Macaulay Culkin's performance as Kevin McAllister, along with Joe Pesci's performance and Catherine O'Hara's performance. The comedy, specifically the third act, has the best comedy, and John Williams' score. This is a really good film. And I can understand why a lot of families love to watch this during the Christmas season, and I am really honored to be talking about this film during the holiday season. Anyway, thanks for listening to my audio commentary on Home Alone celebrating its 35th anniversary. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you on Christmas when I do my double feature for A Charlie Brown Christmas and Mickey's Christmas Carol. But until then, I'm Tony the Happy Nerd. Keep the change, you filthy animal. Don't have a good day. Have a great day.